All right, welcome back to another episode of Empowered and Unstoppable, the podcast for high achieving women who are ready to stop playing small, start creating their true 10 out of 10 life. I'm your host, Megan Bunnell, and today I am so excited because we are diving into a conversation that I think every ambitious woman needs: how to perform at your peak without burning out. And how many of us can relate to that? And our guest today, couldn't be more excited, is someone who knows this world inside and out. She's a productivity expert, an executive coach, a speaker, a trainer, and she has built a thriving coaching practice helping leaders truly unlock their potential, both professionally, but also personally. And so she has walked the entrepreneurial roller coaster, my friends, since 2007. And she's here to share the real lessons from the highs to the lows and then everything in between. And what I love so much about our guest today is that she truly is a productivity powerhouse. She empowers leaders to consistently achieve their peak performance, hence her name, which we'll get there, redefine success on their own terms, and really create impact without falling into burnout. She's spoken to audiences as large as 600 people, secured a six-figure coaching engagements. She's mentored women pro bono. Thank you for that, by the way, and built her own business over the last 18 years. All of this, my friends, while she's been juggling motherhood, multiple moves, huge pivots in her own life, and a recovering perfectionist herself. I think a lot of us relate to that too. But she knows what it takes to simplify success and really keep momentum. So today she's going to bring all of that wisdom and experience right here for us. We are incredibly lucky. So please help me welcome the amazing, astounding, and absolutely brilliant powerhouse, Elisabeth Galperin, the founder of Peak Productivity. Welcome to Empowered and Unstoppable. Elisabeth, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Megan. That is quite the intro. I hope I can live up to it today.
You absolutely will. I think I could have talked about you for much longer, but they just need to know the basics here, just the basics.
Right.
So we always kick things off here with something just a little fun and human, because I think success stories are really great, but we also want to know the quirks, right? And so what is something that's kind of weird or quirky or just very human about you that most of your clients or followers wouldn't know?
Great question. I am such a rule follower.
Mm.
I've learned that rules are sometimes made to be broken, and I sometimes just kind of have to laugh at myself because I have really created a path that has had no rules and guidebook. But when it comes down to it, that is my natural preference. And so while I lead others and I have built this business purely just making one decision at a time, I really do have kind of that preference for tell me the directions, tell me the 10 steps. And so it's a little bit of a, I would say, irony based on how I've progressed professionally with my career versus kind of that natural wiring.
I love that, because I'm imagining the discomfort that you've
Yes.
experienced
Yes.
by having this path that you had to make your own rules for and probably broke 1.5 million times. And
Yes.
so, yeah, I love that. Women, are you listening? It is okay to be uncomfortable. Great things come through your discomfort at times. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. We are going to start with what I think you have termed as the roller coaster. So you've been in business, not this business, but business since 2007. And I think you explained it as you've survived and you've thrived. And there have been massive changes in the world, obviously, in that time, but also in your own life. Could you tell us two things: one high moment and one really tough obstacle that really shaped how you show up today?
Okay, I'm going to start at the obstacle.
Let's go.
Because the reality is those happen often, right? And we paint the picture of it's all success, but
100%.
There's so many obstacles. What comes to mind is, so a little bit of the background on, I started my business when my husband and I lived in North Carolina. We had no children at the time. And my background, I was a speech language therapist. I was
Oh,
helping to
wow.
run. Yeah, yeah, which sounds like a
Okay.
major pivot. There's
Yeah.
a lot of connection, but we can get to that. And so when we uprooted, we had our first son in North Carolina. When our second son was on the way, surprise number two, we decided that we did want to be closer to family. And so we chose to move back to the Midwest in Ohio, where I'm from. And I, had a business and it was pretty well established at the time. And I had a little bit of a false narrative that when we relocated back to my hometown, that it would be super easy to just kind of, connect with the people that knew me. And I mean, it would take time, right? But I'd be
Yeah,
able
but
to, I wouldn't
easy
be
path.
starting, yeah, I wouldn't be starting,
Yeah.
at ground zero again. And it was a lot harder when I came back to the hometown where, I really was where my childhood was and my very young adulthood, but coming back as an adult really had to reestablish myself. And so I can vividly remember sitting on the couch in our rented townhouse for the first year. We weren't sure where we wanted to settle. And at that point, we had an infant and a 2.5-year-old. And my husband had taken a job just to get us here. So it wasn't an ideal job and it wasn't paying well. And I was struggling getting my business going. And, I always had the speech language therapy in my back pocket that I could fall back to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, that would have been the easy route.
Right.
And I just remember sitting on the couch crying about, we were tight on money and I was just getting frustrated and just making that very difficult decision that while I did have a plan B, I was not going to go in that direction.
Ooh.
And yeah, yeah. And I am a persistent, driven individual, and I do like to be in control. And so it was acknowledging that there's a lot of things that I don't have control over. And I'm still going to persist down this more difficult path than take the option of go get a full-time job back at a school where I know I can do it, but it wouldn't make me happy.
Um,
And so that was, it was a sacrifice.
mm-hmm.
I was, asking my husband to keep believing in me and for us as a family to have a little bit more time. And, but I think that was, while it was a very challenging time and it was that obstacle of keep going down the more difficult route than take the easy option, I think it was also a moment of true believing in myself.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think ultimately I knew that I was going to be able to figure this out and create what I had envisioned. And so that ultimately, betting on yourself can also
Yes.
be scary.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that was a pivotal point.
I love
And
that.
yeah.
I think that's just gold because I think what you just shared is that success isn't really just the highlight reel that we see, right, of people, but it's also that resilience that you build through those dips. I love that image of you just sitting on a couch crying. Not that I want you to sit on a couch crying, but we've all been there. And that
Mm-hmm.
resilience, that belief in yourself, betting on yourself is often the very thing that allows you to climb higher than you ever would have as in your case as
Mm-hmm.
speech therapist. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And I think the reminder that just because it's a familiar place doesn't mean that that's always a one up. That I
Yep.
really had to reestablish who I was and what I was doing and build relationships as this new version of myself and what I had to offer.
Yeah.
And so, that was a good 10 years ago. And so I think in terms of a high point
Yes.
would be kind of what you referenced earlier. I had the opportunity, I worked with a organization in a pretty outsourced manner for about a year. And I was coaching one of their senior leaders and kind of sprinkling in some value here and there, and was asked if I would serve as their fractional, we called it the chief people officer, I was coaching all of their leaders, and I was supporting them in developing the leadership team, developing some good, healthy culture structure for the organization. And it was just that moment of recognizing that I could build a long-term relationship, that I could impact members of a team from the top all the way through, and that someone saw enough value in what I was providing that they wanted me to be a critical part of their organization.
I love that.
Yeah. And that was a little bit of that, moment of not I've made it, right? Because what does that really mean? But
Yes.
I've hit a point now where the value that I'm providing has been seen and recognized by senior leaders and, a CEO that I highly respected. And it was a little bit of a breath where, okay, I've got, a 12-month client that I can really make some impact here. As most of your listeners know, as entrepreneurs and business owners, we're oftentimes you have to keep thinking about, well, who's next, what's next, where next. And so it was just really nice to feel, while it wasn't my only client for a year, it was just that a little sense of security in the lack of security space that business ownership provides. So that was a real win, and that gave me a boost in confidence that I provide value, people see the value, and there's a need for this in in the local community and beyond. So
absolutely,
that was one of my recent high moments for sure.
I love that. And yeah, you're right. We never have those moments where we made it, right? Because as you said, what does that really mean? But that is validation for what you do and the importance of your role and the value that you provide. And so congratulations. That's amazing.
Thanks.
I love that.
Yeah, great.
I think,
great
go ahead.
Experience. I was just saying it was a great experience and an awesome learning opportunity for me as well, which I think is something, we can get to, but I think one of the most important things that I've recognized is there's always so much more to learn, right? I've been doing this for 17, 18 years, and there's still so much that I want to learn and that I know I need to learn. And that again goes back into the, you're never really finished.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And really, I think at the minute that we stop learning and that we're open to that there's more, right? It doesn't have to be bigger. It doesn't necessarily have to be better, but just that there's different, that there's more to learn. I think that's the minute we stop growing. I think it's all about continuing to learn. So that's awesome.
Great.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one more moment.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if this is that exact same moment or not, but you have talked about how a very pivotal moment is truly stepping out of your day job safety net. Was that that moment, or was that before when you were in North Carolina?
No, that was maybe a year after that low moment of, do I keep going or do I go take a full-time job? So I did have some part-time work. So I still had one foot in the speech and language that first year, maybe year and a half when we were back in Cincinnati. And again, it was that security, blanket of, well, this is, there's still this option.
Yes.
And so that came, like I said, it was probably about a year and a half after we had relocated to Cincinnati. And I was doing some very part-time work with the speech and language industry at a private clinic. And the owner had been great with me. She knew that it wasn't my calling anymore.
Yes.
That it was, a paying of the bills. And, she got to a point where she needed me to decide if I was going to put more hours towards her business or if I was going to put more hours towards my business. And again, that was just the reiteration of, nope, if I have to let go of anything, and it was the good push, right? It's like
Yeah.
sometimes you need, mama bird's got to push you out of the nest. It
A
was a little
little.
bit of
Yeah.
that push of you don't have this, the safety nest anymore. And that in hindsight was extremely freeing. And in fact, I actually let my certification go, which was like the final nail in the coffin of that
Because now
career.
there's no plan B. There's no plan
There
B.
is, right, exactly. So that moment of I don't have the safety net anymore. And while it was minimal, again, it felt like, well, it was something. And when she asked me to make that choice, again, it was that next decision of, nope, I'm betting on me. I'm betting on me.
Oh
Yeah.
my, I have chills. Because I think we've all been there where we have some sort of plan B if we've taken that
Mm-hmm.
first step towards our desired plan A, right? But we hold it.
Yeah.
We do. We keep our
Yeah.
foot in the door. We keep our certification, in your case, we
Mm-hmm.
keep that part-time job, and truly letting go of that is
Mm-hmm.
you betting on yourself, and not underestimating what value you have to give in the path that you've chosen. And
Yeah.
that's terrifying. Terrifying.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think what it also really opened my eyes to, and this kind of goes to the experience that a lot of my clients have. Sometimes we have this little area of our life where we think, well, it's not a big deal, right? It's just a couple hours a week, and it's I can fit it in. It's not really taking up that much time and energy,
right.
but it was absolutely taking up time and energy away from me being able to be fully focused, fully
Yeah.
invested, and fully committed to making my business work. And so, sometimes we hang on to things because it's like, well, it's just one more ball in the air and I'm good. I can juggle
I'm
it all.
good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when you let go of it, you realize, wow, that was, a 10-pound ball that I was
It was
juggling,
more than I
not,
thought.
yeah. Yeah. So that was a good reminder that we can often rationalize that extra commitment or that extra responsibility and normalize it. And when we actually step back or step away, we can see how much it was consuming of not just our actual time on the calendar, but the mental space, right? And
Oh, yeah.
kind of that energy. And really, in a way, it was a representation of, well, I think I believe in myself 95%, right? That was the 5% of, but I'm going to
Yeah.
have this.
Yeah.
So that was a really great awareness that I can now use when I'm working with clients and helping them to recognize that there are things they need to let go of. And yes, there's risk, but what's the cost that isn't evident on the surface?
Yeah. And I think that a lot of us can relate to that, even if it isn't about a plan B. Like, how many of us moms have these things that we sign up for because we can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we can juggle it, we can do it. But as you just said, but what is that cost?
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Emotional? Is it physical? Is it time wise? Is it what? And is that cost worth it
Yes.
versus being able to invest, whether it's that mental space, that emotional space, probably all of the above, time, all of
Mm-hmm.
it, into something that's really going to be more worthwhile. And it's okay to say no. And you said no in a really big way, but the yes that came with that is bigger than that no that you said.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, again,
There's a
I'm proud of you.
saying, there's a saying that for every yes, there's 1,000 no's, and you can reverse it, right?
Yes.
And so it is really important to recognize if I'm a no here, what is that allowing me to say yes to over
Yes.
there, or vice versa? If I'm saying yes to this opportunity, what am I going to have to let
Say
go
no.
of or
Yep.
say no to? And so you have to look at both sides of the coin there for sure.
I love it. Great, just general life lesson. And I
Yeah.
think specifically for women and moms, because we just tend to juggle all the balls, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like all the things that we
Mm-hmm.
possibly can. I love it. And, something else that I think goes along with that is the idea of success and how we define that, right? Like for ourselves. And you've talked about giving yourself permission to redefine success along the way, right? And I think so
Mm-hmm.
many of us feel trapped almost by that first definition that either we set or that we just take from others, right? What
Mm-hmm.
our society is telling us is successful, what your parents are telling you is successful, what your spouse is telling you is successful. How have you redefined success over the years, and how can we as women do that same thing without guilt? You're listening to another episode of Empowered and Unstoppable. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Are you ready to take your success to the next level? Visit www.meganbunnellcoaching.com.
That is a great question that, I think is still part of the process, part of the journey. This is one of those practice what you preach. When I work with clients, I often start with asking them to redefine some slightly more concrete terms. So, what does time management actually mean? What are you actually managing? And then what is productivity defined by your parameters, not your boss, not your partner, not, your parents or whoever else has given you a paradigm, but how are you redefining productive in this moment, in this phase? What does it look like in your work versus what does it look like in your personal life? Yes. So I think that's part of defining success is having clarity at some of those smaller levels, and then making sure that they align, right? So if I define productivity as I am supporting and empowering clients and I'm on the soccer sideline and at band practice,
Amen.
Yes. Then does that align with a definition of success? If my definition of success is, that I'm whatever, I'll be kind of hypothetical here. Like I've made partner at the law firm, right? It's right. Do they actually stack up? And so if I do bring it back down to myself personally, I do think that there was a lot of undoing along the way because success I think in my family, success was definitely there was a financial component. There was the hard work. Are you a hard worker? And that has been something that I've had to also redefine.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And then, are you impacting others? And so I looked at that and said, well, I agree. I want to provide for my family, right? I want to be able to have the financial health that allows me to create great experiences for my kids and a sense of security for my kids. So, redefining success in that financial lane. Redefining success in that hard work lane has been a big one for me. I'll talk a lot in, my trainings and in working with clients. I definitely was one of those card carrying badge of honor, the badge of busy, right? And I have definitely had to redefine success does not mean that at any free moment I'm at the computer. Or that I'm willing to always go above and beyond for every individual. So that's been still refining that, to be honest.
And that's hard, I think, for women and moms, honestly, that one in particular.
It is. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then the impacting others. Now it's a matter of, well, I'm impacting others, yes, clients, but I also, of course, am looking at how am I impacting my children? How am I impacting my husband? How am I impacting my community? This year, I finally stepped into doing some parent-teacher organization work and stepping more into the school district. And that's, a new place where I want to make some impact.
Yes.
So defining success, again, I have to look at all those different domains. And now that my kids are a little bit older, some of those domains have moved up the ladder and down the ladder, but it's also a matter of reevaluating it frequently and allowing yourself to say success used to be this. And now that there's new people in my life or there's new priorities in my world, I have permission to change some of those parts of the definition.
And I really do think that's huge, that we have the idea, awareness, I guess I should say, that success isn't static, because it is something that we get to rescript. And the problem with not taking the time and really looking at all of those domains and redefining it is that you will reach that measure of success that you have, but it isn't true to you and you don't feel it. And I think that's how we have that life that looks amazing on paper, but we're empty inside or we're missing something inside. It's because we've arrived, as we joked about that earlier, we've arrived at our success, and yet that isn't success to us anymore. And so if we're not constantly looking at it and redefining what it means and accepting and owning that definition, then it won't matter what title we have, what money we have, what house we have, whatever it is that your success is defined by, if it's not in alignment with what's most important to you. And all of that, I would consider growth, all of the redefinition, right? All of the really being aware and changing journeys and anything you need to do. That's not failure. It's wisdom for what's in alignment with what's important to you. That's a great example. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome.
I love that. Okay. Well, I want to dive into what you do, that piece of you, which now we're very clear is a very specific piece of you, right? Because that's only part of your success. But as a productivity coach, you help leaders, if you will, achieve more with avoiding the burnout, right? Without having that burnout, which I have to say, and maybe I'm assuming here, but for women, that's difficult because as we mentioned before, we'll juggle all the balls and what we can take on, we will take on, right? Yes. What are some of the biggest myths about productivity that you wish every woman would just throw out immediately?
Okay. Fabulous. How much time do we have? No.
Buckle up, ladies. Buckle up.
Well, there are two that I'll jump to immediately because it's, your question, of course, timely. I'm working with another coach. I love when I get to collaborate, and we're running a one-day summit for a group of women from they're all from the same organization. We just had this conversation about some of the common terminology that gets thrown around right now and what's wrong with it. And we're going to do a whole Mythbuster presentation. So the first is work-life balance, right? And people probably have heard some of the dialogue on this. Yes. So the myth being that there's some perfect equation, or that there's this beautiful pie that's, a third, and a third, or a fourth, and a fourth, and a fourth. Right. So that is, I use the term work-life integration. And I talk about how do you successfully, productively, comfortably weave in and out. That's really what we have the luxury to do, but it's also what we are challenged to do. When inevitably, when we're at work or focused on work, there's a part of us that's thinking about home. And when we're at home, there's a part of us that's thinking about work. And instead of working against that, allowing ourselves to work through it. Yes. So the myth of there's some perfect way of feeling at the end of the day that I gave the right amount and the same amount to every ball that is in the air. And so, where I coach my clients is we have to go up to, the airplane level and look down at a bigger slice of our life and say, over the last month or in this quarter, how am I going to integrate so that nothing gets overly focused upon and nothing gets completely ignored? And again, kind of what are my minimums and maximums, right? What's the minimum level where I need to give of myself, and what's the max where I'm going to need to have a limit? So it goes back to defining productivity and defining success and defining priorities, because not everything can be at the top of that priority list. So work-life balance is not a true thing. Figure out what word resonates for you, and then think about from a bigger picture. It's not going to be every day, right? It's in the span of a week or a month. Where can you feel that you are satisfied with where you gave of yourself, your time, energy, focus?
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
And that is such a hot topic word right now. That whole work-life balance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I keep waiting for it to kind of go away, or for someone to, because whenever I hear people talk about work-life balance, then I hear well, nobody can achieve that. And so it's like, well, why do we keep talking about it then?
Yeah.
Why can't we redefine it? Why
Yes.
can't we come up with a better concept, right?
Brilliant. Yes.
Yeah. With leaders, the myth or the concept that really gets at me is imposter syndrome. Coming from the clinical background of speech and language, where we identified disorders and delays and disabilities, and a syndrome is there's something wrong, right?
Yeah.
There's a
Something's broken.
significant,
Yeah.
yeah. And imposter syndrome, like, in my opinion, it's about confidence. And every human being, it doesn't matter whether you're a brand new kindergartner walking into your classroom, or you're a seasoned CEO who's walking into a meeting with someone new that they have to, impress. Or we all have moments where our confidence ebbs and flows, fluctuates. Imposter syndrome is simply learning how to navigate times of extreme confidence, low confidence, and how do you build your confidence, and
Which
how do
is
you
very
accept.
human. Just very human.
Yes, it's very human.
Yeah.
So that's one I dig into a lot with leaders, and getting them to understand that part of leadership is getting comfortable with having a lower sense of confidence,
Mm-hmm.
and then knowing what to do about that, right? Knowing how to navigate through it, but also knowing how to overcome it. And so that's another, just again, I wish we would just talk about it differently, and talk about
Yeah.
it as it's not a woman problem. It's not a generational problem. It's not a syndrome. It is a human experience. And I think you said this at the very beginning, it's where we get uncomfortable that we actually grow and learn the most. And so in a way, we should be seeking those moments out, versus thinking, oh, there's something wrong because I'm experiencing this feeling or this emotion or this, thought about myself.
And I do think we do that a lot. Like I think now culturally, and I don't know if it's like that around the world, but certainly in America, it's like we want to label everything that is uncomfortable as a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I love the word experience, because no, there are highs and there are lows, and there is easy and there is hard and there is long and there is short. And it's all just part of this human experience that we get to figure out. And
Mm-hmm.
that being an alignment in any of those, and, pulling at what we know and the experiences we've had and figuring out the lessons we want to learn, like all of that is how we navigate that successfully. Right. And I
Mm-hmm.
think I love the idea of X-naying. What is the term in the restaurant world? Is it 89 when you like run
Oh,
out of
yes.
something? Like
Yes.
89ing work-life balance and 89ing imposter syndrome. With
Right.
my clients, I make them 89 the words but and should. Like there's no room for that in
Yes.
our world, right? Like let's just 89 all of those terms, and
Mm-hmm.
let's just make sure that we're in alignment with how we're spending our time, right? And that
Yes.
we're in alignment with where our confidence is and what we can gather to help us in times of low confidence or high. I love that so much. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well done. Okay, I'm attending the
Awesome.
summit. I
I'm
don't know what
glad.
it is, but
Come on in. I'll sneak in the back door.
okay, perfect. I'm coming in. I'm coming in. I love that. Something else that I think you can really share with us too is you have shared how important it is to build a team of trusted peers
Mm-hmm.
and those people that can cheer you on and really give you feedback. And to be honest, I think that's almost against women's nature, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we feel like so often we have to stand strong on our own. And if not, we're broken, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
are barely keeping our nose above water or just straight up drowning, right? But we can't ask for help. We don't want to look out for the easy answer like we'll figure it out. And
Yep.
so for those women that are listening who feel
Mm-hmm.
really isolated, maybe whether it's in their business or in a leadership role or just in the way that they're managing life currently,
Yeah.
what can we do to start building that circle, whether it's in business or whether it's in our life or a combination really of the two? What can we do
Yeah.
to start finding that team of trusted peers?
Yeah. So I'm going to add one thing because
Yes,
I
please do.
love giving the science behind some of our behaviors. So the reason that the individual typically not just survives, but thrives in community is because that is how we're wired. So if you go back to when we were cave women and cavemen and
Mm,
villagers, we were driven to show up not just for our own survival, but we had to show up for other people because they were also showing up for us. And that was
yes.
how we were collectively working for our survival. And
Couldn't
then
have
we've
done it.
now evolved, right, to thriving. And so we are wired to be part of a pack, part of a tribe, whatever term you like to use there. So and you're right, women more than men have kind of this built-in assumption that I should be able to do it myself, figure it out myself, even if I have to work hard and long, and we're working against our biology and our chemistry when
Yes.
we tell ourselves that. So that being said, working smarter, not harder is I got to find my people, right? I've got
Yeah.
to find the folks that are going to ask me to show up bigger than I might ask myself, and that I can lean on when I can't go out and hunt and find my own food, right?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you when I moved back to Cincinnati, I grew up here, went to high school here. I went to college not far from here. And so I was like, well, I know a bunch of people there, right? I'm going to have a built-in friend group and
It's
social
going to be
group.
easy. Remember?
Right,
Easy.
right. Well, when you move back as an adult, we all have different worlds.
Yes.
And so where I found my tribe, where I found my supporters was actually through my kids' childcare. And which, you drop off, pick up. You don't really think you're going to make
All these
connections there.
connections. Yeah.
Right, right. But, the universe put me in to position where I met another mom who happened to also own her own business. And so
Beautiful.
we had this immediate connection.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, she is very community driven. And so she was looking to build we called it our mastermind, and she wanted a small group of women business owners. And I was lucky enough that she asked me to be a part of that group, and talk about like a moment of lack of confidence. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember walking into that first meeting thinking, oh, these are all these successful women who've got it together and they've got these established businesses here in Cincinnati, and I'm brand new. And, it was, of course, we were all a hot mess together.
Yes. Yes.
But it was, the willingness to say, okay, we all have one thing in common. We're all women business owners. And
Love
that
that.
was what we started from, right? Yes, my friend Rachel had children that were my kids' age. There was one woman who had no children. There was, one woman who was still working full time. And so there was a lot that wasn't in common, but we connected over that one thing in common. And from the start, we didn't really have like a written rules of the group, but we kind of had this understanding of we're going to tell each other everything, right? The highs and lows. We're not here to boast about all the
No,
successful things.
we're
We're
be
going to
real.
tell each other. Yes, yes. And so that premise was, what made it work. And we also were really committed. It was, we're going to meet at this time on this day, and not just if it's convenient, but we're going to make it
This is going to
a
happen.
priority. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it was small. I think originally there were 6 of us. And so it was a matter of, finding one thing in common that really was a strong common thread. It was the agreement that we're going to be real with one another, that none of us know more than another, none of us is more successful than the other. And it was the idea that I'm showing up for myself and for each of you.
Yes.
And that was really the core of what built that group. We still get together, not in the mastermind way that
Let's
we did
go.
originally. But yeah, I mean, 8 years later, we're still very dear friends. And I absolutely would not be where I am and would not have gotten to where I am now without their support. But again, so it was a little bit of a aligning of the stars.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yes, you might find those people at your gym. I think sometimes too, it's finding people through another commonality before
Yes.
you go into the, can you support me in this other area of my life?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, it takes a little time. And I think there are so many structured communities that you can seek out. I don't
Yeah.
remember that being an option 8, 9 years ago.
But now there's a ton.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, if you can't organically create it locally, start
Join
looking.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because somebody lives across the country or across the world doesn't mean that they can't be that type of a support for you.
Yeah. And I think that first step then is just being open to
Mhm.
understanding that we are not meant to do this
Yeah.
alone. Like you said, like we're
Yes.
not wired biologically to
Yeah.
do this alone. And I think honestly, this might sound dramatic, but I think isolation is a dream killer because
Mhm.
that's not how it happens. And so what you're saying is key, that success is never truly solo, no matter how you
Right.
define it, right? And
Right.
I mean, I don't know about you, but just kind of flipping through my Rolodex of like the powerful women that I know, all of them have some sort of squad behind them, even if it's not
Mhm.
their business squad, but just
Mhm.
other people with some sort of commonality, even if it starts with just one person. And you're right, it could be
Absolutely.
at childcare, it could be at the gym, it could be at church, it could like wherever.
Mhm.
It doesn't have to have anything to do with what your challenge or your struggle actually
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And I think, if I take it from my friend Rachel's perspective, she didn't have, she didn't, hadn't naturally found a group. So she decided, I'm going to create one. And that's the other thing, right? If you can't find a group to insert yourself in, then make a decision to say, well, I'm going to pull
Start
these
it.
two people and let's just start with the three of us,
Let's
right?
just
You can
go.
create it if you can't find it.
I love it. Yeah. That actually is giving me ideas right now.
Ooh,
Thank you,
love it.
Elizabeth. I love it.
Yeah.
And along that same lines of supporting each other, you have done that in what I would think is kind of an obvious way for us women wanting to support other women, and yet many of us don't. I don't, to be totally honest, in that you
Mhm.
have invested in mentoring women pro bono for free in leadership cohorts or maybe events, but by really sharing your unfiltered truth about your journey. What do you hope that those women take away from hearing that raw, behind the curtain version of success that you are just gifting from them
Mhm.
in these cohorts or events or whatnot? What's your hope?
Well, it's a lot of what we've talked about, right? That no matter who we are talking about, there is more to the story than what we see on the surface.
Yes.
And so, it's one of the questions I often get. I don't get it as much now as I used to because my company, the first name was Turnleaf Organizing. And so I was an organizing and productivity expert. And so, people would always say, like, oh, I wish I could come to your house and see, is your house as organized? Or
And
I'd
you're
love
like,
to
oh
look in
Lord.
your bag. And right.
You're like, please don't. Tell me when you're
Right.
coming. Tell me when you're coming.
And I would say, I have two children under the age of 4 at home. So trust me, it's not what you think. Right.
Nothing impressive there.
Right, right. But it goes back to the more we deconstruct the idea of perfect and the idea of easy success and the idea of overnight success, the better. There's just no
Yes.
reason for that, to be anyone's idea. And I had lots of people, women and men, but that helped me early on. And so, they shortened my learning curve. So
Mhm.
it's absolutely a give back. And you give to gain. I certainly
Mm-hmm.
believe in that. But it's helping when I think about the ultimate mission that I want to be serving, it's about helping people recognize the potential within them and then to reach it.
I love it.
And without without having that outside counsel, those outside mentors and coaches, we can't see our potential.
No.
We have blind spots, and so it is part of my mission. And again, success to me is not always equaling money. So
Right.
I'm achieving success by giving back to
Love that.
individuals who maybe need a little extra hand up for getting the mentoring and the counseling. And again, I know that many people who did it for me or who would do it for me if I asked. And so I want to practice what I preach, and I want to give beyond what I was given, and it's so rewarding. And again,
I can
it's
only imagine.
yeah, when you're the person that you're working with, when they start to see the potential or they achieve that first milestone, that's the reward, right?
Yes. Yeah. Oh
And it
no,
can be
absolutely.
done. Yeah, it can be done. So I have a woman that I mentor right now, and I call it asynchronous. I have not seen her in person for a couple of years. We communicate by leaving each other voice messages. So if she needs something, she leaves me a message. When I get it and have the time, I leave her a message back. And so I integrate it really easily into my day and my life.
Yes.
And it's not taking up, it doesn't feel like a huge investment of my time, but I know that she knows I'm just a dial away.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can be in a, not a structured, it can be,
Yeah.
how can you innovatively support someone in maybe a less traditional way? And that's the fun of it too, is getting
Yeah.
creative with it.
Well, and I think all of that work is so very needed because people might not have the means or even know where to go to. And like you said, people did that or would have been willing to do that for you. And so giving back. But I think the important piece is that when we see that messy middle, right? Like, no, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
perfect. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I might be an expert in this or know, how to help. That doesn't mean that I have it all together on the other side for sure. And then that allows them to stop comparing themselves to that polished final product that they think they're striving for, right? And it's
Yes.
permission to just be real and keep going with support. And
Yeah.
that's beautiful. So thank you for that work that you're willing, that gift that you're willing to give to other women and really supporting them.
Yeah.
That's
It's,
beautiful.
it's just, it makes my work feel really full, honestly.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And like you said, it's so rewarding. And I guess, I said I don't give in that way. And I don't as far as my coaching business is concerned. And yet the amount that I give to people that do matter, which in my case, we have littles as well,
Mm-hmm.
back to their school and helping with that. And there's so much reward in that. There's an incredible amount of reward just giving and helping and providing and all of that in ways that some parents can't or they don't or whatever. I think
Right.
it's
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's
Well,
beautiful.
I would also challenge you to see the podcast as a way of giving,
And I do.
right?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I've actually been
Yeah.
asked if I want, ads or to monetize, and I never do. Like, this is
Mm-hmm.
truly a gift, and I
Mm-hmm.
hope that it can reach as many women as possible that need to hear the things that are on it and the nuggets that are in it. And I
Yeah.
never advertise for that reason what I do, whatever. It really is just giving. So you're right. Thank you. You're right.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
you just, yep, got to look at it from a different perspective.
I love it. Well, thank you. Thank you. Okay, I have one more very you focused, and then we're going to give a gift to our audience with your answer with the next one. So,
Okay.
what in all of your experience, business wise, life wise, this podcast is called Empowered and Unstoppable. What does it mean to you if someone is empowered and unstoppable? Or what does it mean to you for yourself? Either way.
Okay. Well, I love the word empowered. And if I had to put it in a smaller nutshell, I do think it is about having the resources and the opportunity to learn more and to grow more.
Yes.
In my work with leaders, I'll often talk about how are you empowering your team, and part of that is giving them the authority and the autonomy and the decision-making power, and not doing things for people, right? It's letting people learn how to do it. So what is it? You can feed a man fish or teach him to fish, right?
Right. No,
So I think that's what empowerment really means to me, that you're not just giving someone something or a piece of information, but you're giving them the ability to own it, to learn it, to master it, to take something and grow it, right?
Love it.
So so I think that's what empowerment is, impacting them not just in the moment, but over a longer there's a longer return.
Yes.
Unstoppable. What comes up for me, I haven't thought about that word. Unstoppable is, I think it goes back to having that belief in self, a little bit of faith, a little bit of willingness to go into the uncomfortable. But unstoppable is having enough of that belief in self to, at least I'm going to try, right?
Yes.
Whether I get the result that I wanted, or I end up hitting detours I didn't expect. But for me, unstoppable is, if I believe I can do it, then what is there to stop me?
I love that.
Yeah.
I have this calendar that has quotes on it every month. And this quote this month says, underestimate me, that'll be fun. And I love that, because that's because I bet on myself, because I believe in myself. Not that I know everything, not that it's going to be perfect or right the first time or whatever, but I know I'm capable, and I know I can make it happen. I love that one. I laughed when I turned over, into September. I was like, oh, that's
this
fun.
one was meant for me.
This one was meant for me. I love it. Well, along with that same idea of being empowered and unstoppable, I'm going to allow you to give them a gift.
Okay.
If I could magically create a magic sticky note that you wrote a message on, a phrase on, whatever, and it just randomly magically appeared on every woman's mirror in the morning, what would that sticky note say?
Okay. It's so funny that you asked that. Do you, these little like rocks that you find all around? Okay. Well, this is, I found this summer.
Okay.
While I was on vacation out for a run. We talked about, that's my happy place. And my company is Peak Productivity. And so I often will use analogies of the climb and the peak of the mountain. And we've talked about doing things that are hard, and that's where we grow. So here's the quote that's been on my mind the last couple of months. Life's a climb, but the view is great.
I love it. Okay, ladies, you heard it. Go get your sticky. Life is a climb, but the view is great. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and it's so the view the whole way up, right?
Oh, yeah.
It isn't just at the top.
No,
you gotta stop and look around at every stage and every step.
I love that.
Can be great.
I love that. If anybody could actually come into my house and into my bathroom, and my husband makes fun of me all the time because I put these stickies
notes
on my mirror, but it's amazing in the morning to read those little pieces from all of you amazing women and have that be the way that I start my day. Just those little reminders. And you're right. The climb is, what was it? The climb is hard, but the view is
Yep. Life's a climb, but the view is great.
But the view is great. I love it. That is a mirror mantra right there. Ladies, write it down. Write it down. Well, Elisabeth, thank you so much for bringing your wisdom and your honesty and your inspiration to us today. I think, You've really reminded us that peak performance, as your company is called, isn't about perfection. It's about that clarity and support and courage and self-belief and betting on yourself. And I have to ask, if our listeners want a little bit more Elisabeth, because we didn't talk about exactly what you do or what you could do for them if they were interested. And I know I am. So what's the best way for them to find you or to get more golden nuggets from you, to learn about how to work with you? How do we find you?
Okay, two best places. LinkedIn is my jam. That's where I put lots of valuable content out there. It's not marketing material. And so it's Elisabeth Galperin, and just make sure you spell Elisabeth with an S, not
It'll
a Z.
be in the show notes, so you won't spell it wrong, my friends.
And I'm in LinkedIn almost every day. So if you connect with me there or message me there, I will see you and I will respond to you. And then my website, peakproductivitycoaching.com. Of course, It's got all the information about working with me and the speaking I do, but also some good resources on there if you're just a little bit curious about ways to, some quick wins in achieving greater productivity.
I love it. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Well, my friends, all of that will be in the show notes with links and all the information so that you know right where to go. I might even pull out a resource or two that I find to be my favorite and stick them in there, because there's a lot and it's pretty rad. But to all of you listening, if this episode lit something up inside of you, share it with your friends, your family, your coworkers. Tag us on social media. Elisabeth is happy to speak with you. I am happy to speak with you, and make sure that you have that support. And even if we are that very first woman to support you, we are here to do that. Make sure you're subscribed so that you don't miss the next week's episode. And just remember, you don't need to have your full step 10 out of 10 plan. Elisabeth is a perfect example. There have been pivots, there have been hard points, there have been changes. You just need to believe in yourself to take that next action. So until next time, stay empowered, stay unstoppable, and stay true to you. We will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to Empowered and Unstoppable. If today's episode spoke to you, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who needs a boost of empowerment. Are you ready to take your success to the next level? Visit www.meganbunnellcoaching.com. Remember, you're not just capable, you're unstoppable. See you next time.